go, Jim. He's dead.
Hello and welcome to Improv Autopsy. I'm your host, Stephen Cadwell. This episode is part one of my interview with Lauren Pritchard. Lauren is a multi-talented performing artist that comes from a multi-talented family. Her sister was my show director for a time when I worked at Universal Orlando, but her family is filled with creatives. Among her other accolades, which I'll link to in the show notes, Lauren was one of the legends of SAK when I first started out there. One of the performers who had tread the boards of the lab and had moved away from Orlando. Improv has continued to be a big part of Lauren's life, and if you're lucky, you may catch her in her two-hander group, Lorelli, in which she shares the stage with Kelly Vrooman. You may spot her in a window at Universal Hollywood or at Disneyland around New Year's. Along with her myriad performances, she also teaches improv and does some traveling now and then, so if you're looking for an inspirational guest instructor with amazing knowledge and the bona fides to prove it, bring Lauren to your theater. You won't regret it. Until then, enjoy part one of Lauren Pritchard's Improv Autopsy. Thank you so much, Lauren, for doing this and for joining me on this.
I'm so delighted to be here. Thank you so much. Oh my goodness, what an honor.
From when I started at SAK, you're one of the legends. You're related to Anitra, right?
Anitra Pritchard is my sister, yes.
Yes, that's what I thought.
Definitely related to her. She's my literal next of kin.
She was my boss at Universal for a period as well, so
oh my goodness.
All kinds of strange connections, and yet we've never spoken.
That is weird. Well, I know you. I'm aware of you. I'm familiar with who you are. I probably even bragged about you and recommended you for things just by being like, well, I know that they know that person.
How many Pritchards are there?
There are 7 Pritchards, not to get too dramatic, but like not all of them are still here, but there's 7 Pritchards total. There was 5 kids and mom and dad. So I was the youngest of 5. So my nickname is Fivel. But yeah, there's 5 kids, mom and dad. We're all in the arts. My poor mom and dad, none of us became rich people. We're just all in the arts. Like not one doctor, not one scientist. We're all just like, I'm going to be in theme parks and comedy. So that was us. But we've done it right for ourselves. And our other siblings were musicians, and they still are in the orchestra, the Orlando Orchestra, and the Orlando Symphony, and they are playing all over town. And there's cello, violin, viola, and just all sorts of art in our house. Laughter, art, and music was kind of a big deal at our house, for sure. Much to my scientific dad's chagrin. He was like, literally, not one of you's going to do math. Like, literally not one? Okay.
Were those the instruments they played, or was that their names?
That was their names. They're named after. No. We all played instruments. Actually, it's funny because everyone played an instrument or sang in our house. As children, we both became full-time dancers, Anitra and I. But like around 14, we both kind of went, dancing kind of leads me into comedy and musical theater. And we kind of slid over into the musical comedy improv world. So I was 14 when I found SAK Theater because of that, because I was kind of doing musicals and comedy and found stand-up comedy. So I wanted to be a stand-up comic. And I went to do an open mic night at the original SAK Comedy Lab, and Wayne Brady saw me on that show and said, you know, the funniest stuff you do is what you say in between your jokes. You should come do improv with us. So I started spending my lunch money every day. I'd save up my lunch money to save up to take the improv class on the weekends with Wayne Brady. And I would have my parents drop me off downtown. I lived by UCF. They would drop me off downtown, and I would take Wayne Brady's improv class on Saturday afternoons at 14 years old in 9th grade.
Now, do you think that he was being honest, or was this his sales pitch to everybody, to all the comics? He'd walk up to the next and be like, you know, the funniest thing you do is in between your jokes. You should come take classes with me at...
I think he's being really honest, because I was just a kid. Like, it's creepy if he wasn't. And also, you know, SAK Theater has, like, a type when you're in the family, and you know what it is. Like, everyone who comes through SAK is amazing. Every student's incredible. But there's this, like, type that it attracts. It's like theme park people who are just good and just have that like je ne sais quoi. They got that thing that you can't really teach or explain or sell. It's just like, you're likable, you like people, you want to make the world a better place by making people laugh, and you kind of come through a squeaky clean lens. I don't know. It's what that theme park magic is that can't be taught. Yeah. And I think that he just saw that I had that thing. I hope. I don't know. But like, it changed my life. Like, doing improv completely, starting at SAK Theater, changed my life. I always knew I wanted to do something like that. I was a huge Who's Line fan as a teen anyway, but that completely changed how I walked through life. And it, like, I think would say saved my life, but like just finding that improv cult. And I think the SAK Theater was based in a family-friendly background. It really kind of attracted a certain kind of person, and it really just became the safe place to be.
So you went initially to do an open mic for stand-up, but you were aware of improv outside of that. Was it just via Who's Line that you were aware, or when did it enter your life?
Yeah, it was the early 90s. So I was already aware of Who's Line for sure. I was very into stand-up comedy, of course, because Comedy Central was so huge at the time. But I was very aware of improv from Who's Line, but also I was a musical theater kid. So we started doing improv stuff in theater. But weird long story short, I auditioned for the Mickey Mouse Club when I was in 6th grade. And I went all the way to the end
Oh.
with Justin Timberlake and Britney Spears and all the ones you think of. It was all of us together at the very end. And the thing that knocked me out at the end was improv. So I was I thought, funny and precocious little kid. Like, I was a funny little kid. I definitely had ADHD and was like making jokes at the time in dance class. But I was also like kind of shy because I always got in trouble making jokes in ballet. So I was really aware of like keeping that side tamped down. And in school, I'd talk out of turn and get in trouble. So I always kind of checked that part of myself because I was like, oh man, people always say I talk too much. I always was aware of that like quick fire, like bah, 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 where your brain just goes brrr, and just fills in the jokes faster than your brain can keep up. I got in trouble for that for so long that I think I'd kind of checked it and didn't realize it was a tool to be sharpened. So when I auditioned for Mickey Mouse Club, I'd auditioned for a bunch of Disney stuff for a long time as a kid growing up in Orlando. But the Mickey Mouse Club, I got to miss most of 6th grade because I kept going back to callbacks for Mickey Mouse Club and got all the way to the very end of producers. So I passed the singing, I passed the dancing, I passed the acting. When it got to improv, I got really nervous. And I remember standing there going, I will become an improviser. Like, I really thought about it. And I was like, I'm going to study what this means and how to harness it. Because I knew that my brain was making the connections, but I was doubting myself so much. And then when I learned yes and I learned listening and reacting, and I learned to make your partner look good and all the stuff we know, my brain like went, oh, that's the thing that I've been doing my whole life, but I just didn't know what it was called. Got it. Totally got it. So I would blame Mickey Mouse Club as how I became an improviser in the 90s.
So in a roundabout way, we have Justin Timberlake and Britney Spears to thank for you becoming an improviser.
Exactly. Yeah. Christina Aguilera was there. It was all of that original cast. We were all together. And I just will never forget that room because I didn't make dirty jokes, but I kind of was making jokes about tattoos and piercings. And my mom afterwards like, why would you do that? I was like, I don't know. Like, I was just so in my head. And now looking back, I was like, oh man, if I knew now what I knew then. And like, it would just been a different world. And I was just scared and self-conscious. I was afraid of saying the wrong thing. But now I know there is no such thing as the wrong thing. But I just will never forget being like one day. And then literally my first job that was huge was becoming an improviser at Disney. My first job as an adult was Pleasure Island Comedy Warehouse, which is ridiculous. Like, at 18, right when I turned 18, my first job was Comedy Warehouse at Disney World. So I was like, that's crazy. I came full circle so fast. And then I ended up working for Disney Channel. I'm on 5 different Disney Channel shows thanks to that world. Like, thank goodness. Like, it gave me my whole life, which is so cool.
So what age were you for those auditions?
11, probably, like 10, 11.
Okay.
So it was around 6th grade. Yeah, 5th and 6th grade. And then 14 was when I found SAK.
And then you made the vow at 11.
Yes.
Did you do anything until Wayne pulled you aside after that open mic?
Yeah, between 11 and 14, I did a lot of musical theater and a lot of, I would say, like theater classes, comedy classes, and I started really studying stand-up comedy and what that meant. But in Orlando at that time, there wasn't really improv comedy classes. We were kind of a family without much wealth and opportunity. We weren't like kids who had headshots and stuff. So like the first pictures my mom took of me is just like me in my yard in a bathing suit holding an orange, like, hi. Like, I didn't have headshots. My mom didn't know how to be a theater mom. You know, there's those moms who are like, bless their hearts, but like, beauty pageant moms. We didn't have that. My mom had a full-time job at Avis Rent-A-Car. My dad had a full-time job at Martin Marietta. They didn't know how to make me a movie star or a TV star. They would just see an ad in the paper and drive me to the thing and go, good luck, kid, and here's a picture of you for that I took in the yard. So they didn't know how to do that stuff. So luckily, though, we slowly started finding through our like dance classes. We just like took local small town dance classes. We slowly started finding some of those auditions, and that's how we kind of stumbled into that world, which was so cool. So that's what I did it. And so yeah, I started taking more classes through like summer theater camps and stuff like that, and doing like summer theater, summer stock, and civic theater for Central Florida stuff, and doing some children's theater and dance theater here and there. And then once I got into 9th grade at 14, then I was off and running into the actual drama. And I took some drama in like 6th and 7th grade in school, of course, too, and I loved it. And I was doing like school chorus, but I was just, again, so self-conscious until it clicked in 9th grade.
And what was it that clicked? Just the theater, the performing, or was it something in particular?
I think it was a combination of the few, like seeing my sister perform in Guys and Dolls when I was a freshman. This sounds so cheesy. I'm going to give you two big moments that for me were like, okay, or three, I should say three. So the first one was when I was a little kid and stuff was hard in our family and things weren't going great. I had a little tiny black and white TV that was like a really old timey, very hard to see black and white, tiny handheld TV that late at night they'd play Cara Burnett and Lucille Ball in black and white. And I watched those. I remember at my saddest moments watching those women and going, oh, I feel like I've got company here. I feel like these are my friends. I feel like everything's going to be okay. And when I was really scared and alone and things were bad in our house, not that they were that bad, but we had a bunch of kids and stuff was going on, typical big family drama. I remember thinking, wow, I'll never know these women. I'll never meet these women, but they're making me laugh so I don't feel alone. And I remember thinking, that is a superpower. That's like being Mother Teresa. So I might grow up one day to make someone laugh who lives in Sheboygan that I'll never meet, who's like dying of cancer alone in their trailer. And for an hour, they might feel like I'm their friend in their room. That is so cool.
Yeah.
So that was my goal growing up in life, was to be like, I want to be that person who in life grows up to make people laugh that I'll never meet and that make them feel loved and not alone. To me, that's everything. And it's also a universal language, like the universal language of laughter goes around the world. Everyone laughs at the same stuff. Everybody likes puppies and their families and food and friends and loved ones, and everyone laughs at the same stuff, and everyone's scared and messing up all the time and all those things. So like you can live in here, Germany, China, Istanbul, wherever, you're laughing at the same stuff. So that, to me, that's why I love theme park work, because they're like, everyone laughs at the same stuff. And we know that. You and I know that. So that was one moment. Second moment was when I went to audition for the Nutcracker, I was 7. You're supposed to be 8 to 10 years old, but I was 7. And I was too young. I didn't know what I was doing. My mom kind of got me in under the radar to audition for the Nutcracker for the Orlando Ballet / Royal Ballet back then. And I remember I was like, okay, I'm not good enough. I'm definitely not a strong enough dancer. I'm too young, but I'm going to make this room laugh. And so our assignment was, we're going to do a dance called Feed the Birds. It's from Mary Poppins. You're going to come out with a little fake bag of bird seed and feed some birds. And so all the girls went out there and did their beautiful dances as 12, 13, 14-year-olds. And I was like, well, I'm 7. I'm not that good. 7 to 8, however old I was. But I was like, I'm not that good. So I was like, my birds are going to not like me, and they're going to turn on me, and they're going to attack me. So at the end of my dance, not only did the birds turn on me, attack me, I had to sneak up on them a few times and they kept pecking my eyes out. I'm going to return the bird seed back to the bird feeder lady who sold it to me. And that like cinched me the job. And afterwards they said, and I remember like all the families standing up and laughing and clapping. And I was like, oh, so if you're not good enough, do comedy. Because you could get away with so much more. I used that same technique in high school. I missed a big assignment for the Vietnam War. And so I studied SNL that weekend, and I saw Mr. Subliminal, which is a very famous SNL sketch where he would, on Weekend Update, Mr. Subliminal would kind of drop in subliminal messages. And so I was like, I'm going to deliver a news report, but drop in subliminal messages about how bad the Vietnam War actually is. And I had a little map behind me, and I did that, and I got an A, even though I didn't really know what I was talking about, but I got away with comedy. And I was like, oh, if you do comedy, you can get away with so much. And that just kind of became my underlining thing in life for sure. I'm just like dropping it in there and just be like, okay, I can get away with this. All right. Here we go. So that has been like on the back burner always, is like, if someone doesn't like me, if I'm not lovable, if I'm not hot enough, if I'm too fat, if I'm too whatever, I can still make you laugh and you're going to like me. And then I'm like you, and I hope I make your life better. Yay! And that's like a superpower. And I think a lot of people who do comedy understand that's a superpower. Like, I don't have to be the best person in the world, but if I can make you laugh, I can make your life better. And to me, that's a superpower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things I love about live theater in general, but comedy is my love as well, improv especially, but you can walk into the room and leave feeling and thinking differently than when you walked in, and that's such a powerful thing.
Just this week, I had to MC, or I didn't have to, I was blessed, honored to MC for Universal Studios Hollywood. It's an incredible fundraiser for Universal Studios Hollywood's Golf Classic. They raise money for Discover Star. It's a really cool charity where they do like Homeboy Industries. It's to help inner city kids, and it's just a great fundraiser. But it's a bunch of really hot, middle-aged, muckety-muck white men who have way more money than I'll ever see in my life. And it's a tough crowd. They've been playing golf all day. They're tired. They might be a little drunk, and they're powerful. And I'm a middle-aged white woman going, hey, guys. I'm like, they could have hired a dude. They could have hired someone hot. But instead they hired me. And I was like, all right, my superpower, I got to make these guys laugh. But they didn't really give me a lot of lines to make them laugh. So I was like, okay, the only time I can make them laugh is when someone comes up on stage to receive their prize. I'm going to make a joke. And so luckily, once it started going, they were laughing and having a great time. And they afterwards were giving such great compliments. Because I was like, man, like, I don't think the perfect candidate on paper to be a golf classic MC. I don't know what I'm talking about with golf. I didn't even know what any of the golf meetings meant. But I was like, but if I can make the dude laugh when he comes on stage to receive his prize, that's awesome. And make his friends laugh with him. And that's great. And I think that's the great equalizer, too. It's such a great way to put us all on the same page status wise.
Yeah.
If you and your boss are laughing at the same thing together, then we're all the same. And if you and the person you don't know or the person that you haven't been getting along with laugh at the same thing, we're equalized. It really is love, music, math, and laughter, I think, are like the things that equalizes the world. And like, I know not to be so hippie and dippy, but like, it's true. Like, I think it's why improv attracts such cool people. Because it really is my religion. I'm not a religious person, but that's my religion, is like improv companies to me are church. Like, it's where I go to be like, if I'm ever lost in a city, I'm going to an improv company and be like, help me, sanctuary, sanctuary.
And they'll say, okay, here's the level 1 information. Stand in line over there. And
Well, I was in Scotland by myself and I got a little lost. I literally walked into an improv company. I was like, hi, I don't know you, but I'm an improviser. They're like, come in, come in. I was like, thank you. Thank you. Like, I really did do that. Because I was like, I know you don't know me, but I know your language. I speak your language. Yes, and me into your hallowed halls.
That's amazing. I love that. Now, did you do any stand-up before that fateful day when you did the open mic at SAK, or was that your first foray into stand-up?
Oh, I did some incredibly strange and disappointing stand-up comedy shows at my talent shows in high school. In my high school yearbook, my senior high school yearbook, there's a giant centerfold of me holding up a box of wheat germ cereal, making a joke about poop. So yes, I definitely did stand up. I did stand up at a couple of open mics. I graduated kind of young. I was 17 when I graduated, so I was pretty young for those 3 years that I did stand up. So I was a kid going into stand up clubs, and I did like a couple clubs around town and in my high school talent shows. So that's about as far as I went, but I loved it. I just knew, oh geez, it's so dumb to talk about, but I was by like opening announcements in the morning in my school. I was on TV as the opening announcements.
Yeah.
And they would give me the announcements and I would make jokes, so much so that I got in trouble. The principal actually got mad at me because I would always like kind of comment and make jokes about the announcements. Because it would be like, hey, it's FCA, school car wash. And I'd then make a joke like, come see the cheerleaders in bathing suits, y'all. But that was like one step too far. It's like, so I kept getting in trouble for like doing one joke too far. Not dirty, but like just like joking too much about the announcements. So eventually I got fired and replaced with a guy who was just like in the debate club. But I was the school announcement person for 2 years in my high school. And then trying to be a kid actor. Like, you know, my mom drove me around town auditioning for Annie and all that stuff for those years.
Is stand-up still a part of your life?
It is, but I can still do it. Mostly when I do more storytelling and guitar improv stuff now,
Okay.
and audience interaction with guitar. But mostly now what I do is if a friend asks me to do their stand-up show, I'll do a little improv set with them or with a friend. So like my friend Tom Clark is a really hilarious improv comic out here, but he also is mostly known for stand-up. He was on Conan and he has his own Netflix special. So he has me do a stand-up / improv with him sometimes. So he'll invite me up. We do like a little bit in the middle where it's like a little improvised, little music, a little, you know, like the short form stuff. And then my friend Kelly Vroman, we do a show called Lorelli together, which we'll get to that in a second. But she and I have done some improv / stand-up shows together where it'll be like stand-up, and then us. And we do like a hard 10 minutes, but we do like a little improv in the middle. But it kind of works because we're kind of more audience interactive than just an improv show. We're like,
Sure.
Just like SAK is, where you go to the audience more and more. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, tell me about the show. You said we'll get to it in a minute, but tell me the show you said you do with her.
We have to jump 30 years in the future from what we were last talking about.
That's right.
I was 14. Now, at 40, long story short, from SAK Theater, I went to Disney Cruise Line and Disney. I also worked in Seattle doing their version of Impro, which is theater sports. Then I moved to Los Angeles after all of that, and I started with Impro, which is Theater Sports Los Angeles, which is the mama company of comedy sports, and the mama company of SAK Theater. So it was Impro, or Theater Sports, in Canada that birthed SAK Theater, birthed comedy sports, birthed a lot of things. That short form improv comedy coming from Viola Spolin and all the incredible places that started kind of doing short form was really harnessed, I think, by Keith Johnstone and that improv theater sports jam.
Yeah.
Up in Loose Moose in Calgary. So I came from there. That's my roots. I am theater sports all the way. So I moved to LA, I joined theater sports right away, and then from theater sports, I started doing my own show out here. I started producing my own show because I had a lot of friends from Disney who weren't quite theater sports, but were from Comedy Warehouse where we did a lot of musical stuff. So I opened up my own show. I was only 20 something, 22 maybe, and I started producing my own show in the Valley in Burbank where we did a lot of musical improv comedy. And from that, the producer of Comedy Sports was like, come join me, come be a part of Comedy Sports because you do comedy, you do music, you do all this great stuff. We've got the longest running show in LA, Comedy Sports LA, which again, Comedy Sports was birthed through theater sports. Theater sports was very Canadian and very European, and a guy named Dick Chudnell in Milwaukee was like, this is great. I want to make it more baseball and more American. I'm going to bring this to Milwaukee and sell concessions and make it very sporty, which he did, took off in the 80s. Then Los Angeles in 1989 was like, we could do this in LA. This is great. So James Bailey in LA was like, let's do this. Come on. So in 1989, he opened up Comedy Sports Los Angeles, which was awesome. So they were rocking out here. So he in 2000 was like, come over here, join me. And around 2002, I was like, all right, I'll come join you. So I joined him, quit producing my own shows that much and joined him, performed, and then became a full-time company member and performing all around the world with him, traveling around the world doing cool stuff. And then in around 2000, I want to say like 12, a woman comes in to audition for us. I'm now directing the Sunday company. It's kind of like the Next Generation or Lab Rats for you guys.
Okay.
It's like the team of people who you know are going to be amazing, but are going to be like tomorrow's teams, the future players. They just might need some more shows under the belts. They're all amazing. They can play tomorrow, but they just need some more reps. She comes in, auditions for me, and I was like, oh my gosh, she's so great. Then she and I go do a show together at Improv Olympic. That's a Shakespeare improvised show with a group of friends. And during that show, at this time, I'm about 315 pounds. She's a cool 110. We're doing this improvised show, and I'm a king in the Shakespeare scene, and I die. And I fall all of my body weight onto her in a slow death. And she slowly receives my weight in a hilarious death scene. And in that moment, I was like, oh, this is my improv wife. Because she was like a waif of a thing. And she and I just together did this amazing death scene where she just like slowly took my weight as I slowly died on top of her. And I knew in that moment, I was like, this girl has got the goods. So after that show, she was like, hey, there's like a 2-person competition coming up at Comedy Sports. It's called like Duel of Fools. Do you want to do this like a 2-person improv show with me? And I was like, yeah, cool. Now, she didn't know that I was on Mad TV, that I'm on 5 Disney Channel shows, that I had been doing some cool stuff. I didn't know she was a star from PBS. She's from The Chica Show, so if you have any people who have kids, they have seen The Chica Show. It's like this incredible PBS legacy. It's like being on Barney. She's like Blue's Clues famous. Like, she was like famous. But I didn't have kids, so I didn't know. So neither of us knew that we were like cool. So she was like, I didn't know I asked out the prom queen. I was like, I didn't know I was saying yes to the prom king. This is awesome. So we did our first little show together and won, and we had a great time. It was a really fun show. So she's like, well, let's go to IO, Improv Olympic in Hollywood, and do our duo competition there. And we were like, we're not going to win. It's so dumb, but we'll go do it. It's fun. So the night we went, we were competing against a group of fellas who were young, hot men who'd been winning for like 11 weeks. They were really funny. They're all stars. Like, to this day, you're like, oh, that guy from all the shows. Yeah. It was also one of the dude's birthdays. So he had all of his friends there. We had no one there. But somehow she and I just had an incredible show. Like, somehow they went on first, we went on second, and we each got 20 minutes, and we just destroyed them. And I never used that term in improv, but we did. It was like one of those weird, like, oh my God. And we won. Accidentally. And we were shocked. We were like, oh my gosh. So do we have to keep coming back every night, every Thursday at 11 o'clock in Hollywood for the next how long? We kept coming back for 69 weeks. That is years. Years.
Yeah.
We had multiple boyfriends, and animals die, and loved ones die, and friends, and it was long. So we finally quit at 69 weeks because we're like, that's the funniest number. So through that, we became improv lovers, and she and I travel the world now doing improv together. And she's one of those people that, just like Wayne Brady and Jonathan are to each other, just like Joel McCreary and Claire Sarah, just like any of the SAK people that you know that you're like, oh, those two people together, oh my gosh. They could be thrown into anything and make it funny. That's who she is. She makes everyone look so good. She's got the SAK goods. She also has the microchip I have, which we do clean comedy together. So she and I just both have the microchip of not dropping the F-bomb ever. It's just because I'm from Disney, because I'm from SAK, I just don't improvise dirty. 1, because everybody laughs when it's clean. 2, because I want to create a safe environment for everyone. But 3, once you go dirty, you're not clever anymore.
Yeah.
It's basement, and then you have to work really hard to get the team back on the right page. And it's harder to be smart and clean than it is to be dumb and dirty.
Yeah.
Which I enjoy. So that's who Kelly Vrooman is. Lorelli is a big part of my life. Check out Lorelli online or at Kelly Vrooman. She is kind of like an Instagram star, which is embarrassing to say, but she kind of is. Like, she has that whole like Instagram thing worked out where I'm like, I don't know, I post a picture of my cat and dead mom every now and then. That's as far as I go. I don't know. But Kelly just like rocks that stuff really hard. She's great.
Now, I did sort of derail just the trajectory that we were on, but that's okay. As two women in that group, especially being clean, what I think I observe, and this might not be completely accurate, is that a lot of women comedians feel they need to go even extra dirty, go even more blue to compete with the men or the guys. Is that a pressure you feel at all? Am I making that up?
You know what's so funny? I love that you say that. We were doing a show one time for a high school comedy sports league summer camp. And when she and I do Lorelli, we wear little black dresses. We wear dresses. And I'm not a dress girl. Like, we're both like sturdy girls who wear jeans and Converse and Doc Martens. Like, I'm not a girly girl. But we purposely wore dresses with leggings and Converse. And we'd wear like accessories and jewelry on purpose because like I want to be feminine and female because I feel like you can dress girly and embrace how girly you are and then play dudes. So the most of the time we're playing dudes and we are being tough. And in our shows, if you Google them, you'll see that we play each other's characters a lot. We're both playing dudes a lot, or we're playing lovers, where one of us is a dude and one of us isn't, or we're a couple together of same sex or whatever. But we never go dirty. I feel like, especially because, now, I'm going to be self-deprecating in this. I've never felt myself as like a pretty girl. I've always just been kind of a sturdy girl. But Kelly is really a really pretty girl. She's like, without a doubt, gorgeous looking. She's like Celine Dion's gorgeous younger sister. And so it's easy for her to go like, poop, and get a laugh. But it's so much smarter for her to not have to do that and to just be real. So a lot of her stuff is like, because she's a mom, so she'll like make mom content and do really cool stuff that doesn't require dirtiness. And I feel like when women who are especially hot and very feminine feel the need to go dirty, it means they don't trust themselves to be funny enough in their femininity. And I feel like it's totally fine to be dirty. I was on the Sarah Silverman program. I did 2 of her episodes. And I know Sarah Silverman kind of went blue in the early days, but she's kind of backed off of that, which I think is great. Because it's like, you can be really hot and you don't have to be dirty to excuse your hotness. Like, you can be really hot and really funny, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You don't have to be ugly to be funny. And that's what I love about Lorelli and about Kelly especially, is like, she's so funny, but so hot. And I feel like so many comics now are figuring that out. Like, you could be fat and sexy and funny. You could be hot and sexy and funny. You could be gross and dirty and funny, which is great, but you don't have to be just because you're a girl. Because I think what that does is it goes like, oh, I can't be attractive to men and make them laugh without being derogatory to myself and to my sex and being kind of sexy or sexual or fart jokey and being like, I just pooped. Like, you don't have to. You could just be funny, just like the dudes do when they're just confident. And I think that all goes into confidence. And that's the biggest thing for me, is like just being confident, just having that confidence in who you are. And I think that has changed a lot, especially in the last even 5 years. I think that's changed, of like, every beach body is a beach body. Everybody's a beach body. Every comedian is a funny comedian. You don't have to do a certain style. Do the style that suits you the best as who you are. And again, I don't judge anyone. So if you are doing poop jokes and booby jokes, awesome. If that's what your style is, that's great. I swear like a sailor at home. My husband's from Chicago. He swears like Joe Pesci. I'm always so worried I'm going to drop an F-bomb all the time. If that's your style, that's great. But if it's not your style and you're feeling you have to do that just to get likes, you don't have to. Just be you and find who you are. Like, what is your essence? My essence is like, how do I shut this thing off? I'm like a fun wind-up toy that's like, oh, this fun robot. Or this robot will not stop. Oh my God. No. So like, I think there's a plus and minus, like, oh, look, a meteor shower. Oh God, a meteor shower. That's who I am. So like, you find your essence and find the plus and the negative to that, and then lean into that in your comedy or your art and just make it work for you. But don't feel like you have to be someone you're not just because you look a certain way. If you're a certain genre of person, if you're a certain race, sexuality, type, physicality, just be who you want to be. Don't worry about what you look like at all. Because I think that's dated now at this point. Thank goodness for the internet.
Yeah. Well, part and parcel to that, or similarly, what has been your experience with sexism in improv or in comedy?
Well, it's funny. Again, I'm so lucky because I've been abroad my whole life. I've never had to really worry about that. I've never had to be like, I'm the cute girl. But I will say, with sexism, I'm really, really happy about how weight has changed in the last few years. I think that there was a lot of sexism in weight and the size of people, where it was funny to be a fat guy, but not funny to be a fat woman. Or if you were a fat woman, it was funny because you're so unattractive. And that has shifted, which I think is great. And I think that there's a lot of amazing comics who have changed that. When I joined Mad TV at the time, they said out loud, "You're the first plus size girl we've really had." Like, they had women who were slightly of size, but not quite fat funny, but they had a ton of fat funny dudes. So they said, "You're taking the role of fat funny dude." And I was like, okay, cool. And so I did a lot of cross-sex stuff. I played like Michael Kors, I played Celine Dion's husband, I played a lot of fat dudes, which is great. And I had a great time doing it. But it was because they were like, because you're a fat woman, it's hilarious. So anytime a sketch was just about me being fat, I was like, that's not funny just because I'm fat and I'm sweaty or whatever. I was like, it's funny because of the stunt I'm able to do, or because I'm playing a gladiator who's crushing the set around her because she's so strong. It's not just funny because I'm fat. That's not funny. So yes, Super Nanny has some plus size to her, but that's not what's funny about her. And so I think luckily that has shifted over the last few years. I don't think people are any longer just being like, you're funny because you're fat, because that's so out of date. It's like racism. It's like, that's just dumb.
Yeah.
So I think that goes into the sexism bit, is that I think that there's no longer like, this dumb broad, this blonde bimbo. Like, that's not humor anymore. I think I've luckily never been hot enough to be in that category, but I have had friends be in that category before. I have had friends who have had to get Botox and feel like they have to look younger and sexier and funnier or hotter to stay in the funny world, which is sad to me. But I think that has actually backed off a lot, luckily. Most sexism I have received as a comedian, though, is verbally, where the mansplaining, or like you do a joke and a guy repeats it louder and then it gets on the show. That's a big part of a lot of shows, where it's like, I said the joke, but kind of under my breath, a guy repeated it and everyone laughed and then they gave him credit. I think that's a thing for sure. And also just taking men's jokes or pitches to be more serious in the woman's. I think that's still something we're always working on. And luckily, everywhere I've worked has had such a strong female base. I'm so lucky that SAK theaters always has strong females. Comedy Sports has had strong females. Jonathan Mangum and Wayne Brady lean into the female base. And lately I've been writing for a company called Asylum Studios. That's the Sharknado people, with my husband. And they are leaning really hard into making sure they have more female representation, which I think is so important because it can be a bro show, especially in writing and comedy. And I think that that has changed a lot in the last, 5 years for sure, which is great. I'm sure you've seen it where you are, and I know I've seen it in the theme parks even. It's been really cool.
And were you ever pigeonholed as mom, sister, grandma, or whatever when you do improv, or has that not been anything you got stuck in?
I think in the early 90s, maybe a little bit more. I remember always being really envious of Clara Sarah, Lisa Fredrickson, Megan White, some of the early OGs, and Morgan Russell, because they were very petite women. Or I wasn't huge at the time, but I'm 5'7", so I'm just like a sturdy size. Like, I'm a normal size person, but they were all very petite and very skinny. And so they'd be thrown in the air. So they were like kind of like treated like an object more. So I was sturdy enough that I was always like, hey, I'm on the set with you. Like, I would always just kind of default to one of the dudes while we're throwing those women around as a prop, or like put them on our backs, whatever. And so I think back then there was a little bit more of that, but I feel like I've been so lucky that I think that I've always played really strong and masculine. And not that masculine is strong, but like I've always kind of played one of the dudes, or asexual. I play a lot of animals. I play a lot of androgynous. I just play like, hey, I'm your plumber, man. Hey, good to see you. And I don't really ever say if I'm male or female because I think it's funnier and it gives me so many more places to go.
Yeah.
But of course, a lot of times it's like, you're my love interest, of course. And that happens. When I do shows in Utah, I do a lot of shows for BYU TV and some Utah shows that are Mormon-based. They're not as comfortable with same-sex relationships, and so I'll kind of default more to the female love interest then. And it is fun, but sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm missing some of the funny then, because I don't get to play those fun characters as much. I get to default to wife and housewife or sister more. But yeah, I just think how I play, I think you're in charge of how people treat you, just like in life. We're in charge of how people receive us as improvisers. And if you come and go like, oh gosh, I don't know what's going on, then that's what you're going to be a doubt as. But I come in the room like, hey, FBI. Like, no one's going to make me go like, hey girl, get on the floor. Like, they're not, you know what I mean? They're not going to do that to me. And I feel like I just kind of lend myself to that. But I also weirdly, like, I play like Dickensian orphans and Annie more than I play women. Like, I play like little kids and innocent, low status people on the streets. Like, oh, I just looking for a handout, man. Like, I play those kind of people more because it's even more loving and more funny, and you got more places to go than just being the girl who has to fall in love.
Yeah.
But if I'm doing a Shakespeare show or whatever, of course you have to be the love interest. But I do an all-girl Shakespeare show called Shrew, which is Sherw. Shrew used to be Shakespeare. We had to change our name because there was apparently a group of women who read Shakespeare in like Georgia and got mad at us. But Shrew is an all-female middle-aged women's Shakespeare show, and we all play dudes and love interests, and you just get so used to being like, oh, I'm everyone. Like I play
Yeah.
everything. There's no sexism here because there can't be, because we're all playing everything. So I'm going to play the mean male lover. I'm going to play the mean father. I'm going to play the old woman. I'm going to play the young love girl who's innocent and dies. I'm going to play all of it. So yeah, I think as an improviser, you're in control of that as much as the improviser with you. I love Amy Poehler had a really great quote in her book about this, where a dude came on stage with her early on and said a bunch of dirty stuff to her about what he's going to do to her. And then she said, honey, when you're in this office, you have to call me Madam President. Now I need you to see me at home. And she just turned the whole thing around and was like, I know you're turned on that I'm the president, but I'll see you at home, honey. And she just completely took her status back. And I think that's unfortunately a big part of it, is like, we just have to declare our status so we don't become that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to rewind a little bit since we glossed over a lot. So you did the open mic at SAK. You started taking classes. Did you do improv at SAK before you auditioned at Comedy Warehouse, or were you just taking classes at SAK?
I sure did. I was performing regularly at SAK. I actually got my first paycheck my senior year of high school, was my first paycheck from SAK, which is crazy. I did my first main stage show and my first paid SAK check, which is in my scrap album. It's in my closet. It was like 1994 when I finally got paid. But yeah, so I'd been doing classes and lab rats from 91 through 93-ish. Then 94, I started getting paid to do shows on the main stage. So on my prom night and on my graduation night, I was at SAK doing shows, which is crazy. Instead of going to prom, my boyfriend was disappointed. I was at SAK. And then Steve Pernick, I'm sure you know Steve Pernick, who is one of my favorite people in the world, is my neighbor and one of my favorite friends in the world, saw me do a improvised song thing. It was Forgotten Song, or Lounge Lizards, which is you sit around a piano and just make up a song. And he saw me do it and he's like, you should audition for Comedy Warehouse. They're having auditions. And I was like, oh no. Around that same time, I was also auditioning that same year for the World Showcase Players, the Shakespeare trunk show that was happening, that was also a SAK theater show. I booked that the same summer that I booked the amazing Comedy Warehouse show. So I already knew I was probably going to get the trunk show. So I'd already auditioned for that. It was kind of already under my belt. But I had to be 18 to audition for Comedy Warehouse, which I'm looking at the Comedy Warehouse button on my wall right now. It's a magnet on my wall. So Steve Pernick saw me do that musical thing and said, hey, if you can do musical comedy and you can make up a song on the spot, you should audition for the show. And I was like, oh my gosh, no, those guys are legends. I could never. And he's like, just come do an audition. And when I auditioned, they were like, oh my gosh, you're so great. When do you turn 18? I was like, October. They're like, great. You're in. So it was SAK Theater first. I did it for a few years, and then Comedy Warehouse. But really doing Comedy Warehouse really made it click into me of what the potential was. So I got to join Equity. By joining Disney, I was able to join Equity, which made me SAG, which made me a professional actor. But also, it teaches you MC work. It taught me musical improv work. It teaches you short form at the max. Because SAK has its own jam. But Comedy Warehouse was so fast, so corporate, so quick that you could do corporate stuff. And that opens up a whole door of, oh, this is your career now. You could do cruise ships, theme parks, MC, audience warm up for sitcoms. It opens up a whole world, just being comfortable talking to the audience. And I also think that being the host at SAK Theater does that. Being the host at SAK Theater also changed my life. That is how I met my 5-year boyfriend. He saw me be a host. He's like, oh my gosh, that girl's so funny. That was being the host at SAK, I think, changes how you walk through life. If you can hold the SAK Theater audience 9:30, 11:30 as a host, you are doing something right. And when you know how to work that crowd and get the hands together apart and do all that stuff, I really do believe that that is the secret sauce to life, is being the host of a SAK Theater show / ref at Comedy Sports. That changes everything, seriously.
Yeah, I've hosted a lot as well and thoroughly enjoy that. And it's a different set of tools that you're using when you're doing that than when you're just improvising.
Yeah.
And I think it makes you a better improviser too, because you're aware of a lot more when you're improvising.
Yeah, you're aware of where to start the scene, where to end the scene, what suggestions to get, how to host them along, how to control the room, how to control the people. And yeah, you see the scene from the outside in such a way that you're like, oh man. Yeah, I think it's so important. So I always suggest that people host or MC or even stage manage. If it's a long form place like UCB, just stage manage and watch a lot of shows like that. Just from the backstage, you're able to see this is the end. This is the end. This is the blackout. Oh my God, this is the blackout. Oh my God. That feeling is so important. Yeah.
Yeah. How would you compare and contrast SAC and comedy sports, the culture between those two? Or I know you talked about it a little bit, but is there any other stark differences that come to mind?
Well, it's funny. I think they're pretty interchangeable because SAC was established by half comedy sports players and half impro Keith Johnstone theater sports players. But it really was based in a comedy sports root. So I think it already is seeped in it. I think the main difference for me is comedy sports is a little bit more formatted as far as there's uniforms, there's rules, there's very specific judging and scoring, and they make it a little bit more baseball sports themed. And we call games a little bit differently for sure. SAC, what I love about SAC, and I do miss in all of my improv that Jonathan and I still get to play with when I play with him and Wayne when we do shows on the road, is there's this misbehavior that I know you know what I'm talking about, where like the scene might go into the audience, the scene might go off the rails, the host is like, I've lost control of the show, and suddenly Dave Russell's out on the street and he's talking to German tourists on a microphone or on a phone outside. Like the show can go off the rails and that's fine. Kind of breaking the rules is, I think, a really fun part of SAC, because I think SAC understands the play of misbehavior and how to rein it in. And so when you're a really good host, you know how to be like, these kids are crazy. And you know how to like rein in the misbehavior and try to get it back on track. And they're like, oh, I've lost a ship. Whereas I think comedy sports, we stick to a pretty strict like structure. Like we're going to this score, boom, boom, boom. Here we go, moving on. We have like a Mr. Voice, and it's just a little more structured and a little more sporty. Another thing they do, which I was like shocked by when I first started, is they have a captain of the team. So on your benches, you have one person who is kind of in charge of the whole thing. Where at SAC, it's like whoever wants to pop up and have an idea just pops up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I remember when I first started, I was like, whoa, that's so weird to have one dude in charge of who goes first. So they literally would go like, all right, you're up next. You go first. You're like, oh, okay, I don't have an idea, but okay, I'll go. So it's just a little more structured, but it still is the same. It's still family friendly. It's still the same thing. I just think they put more safety nets on because they were performing in spaces that were a little bit more, like SAC had the ability to be in a tourist-friendly town, so people were really ready for more art. I think in small towns, in Milwaukee where it started, people were a little like, what is this?
Yeah.
So they needed a little bit more parameters. They needed a little bit more structure to kind of feel safe. They even have actual people walk around selling peanuts and Cracker Jacks, but in a funny way. They'll like do jokes like, ice cream, and they go, want an ice cream? They go, yeah, and then you scream in their face and then hand them an ice cream, like that kind of stuff. They have a thing called ballet parking. So when you pull up, a comedian dances up to your car, and you get out of the car and then they park your car for you in a ballet outfit. They do the whole, like, beginning to end. It's all themed baseball and all bits, like, the whole way. They have food and beer and stuff the whole time and concessions, and it's a whole thing. So I think the difference is just, like, the strict structure and the misbehavior. And I really love what SAC does with the misbehavior. And by that, I mean that really controlled chaos where it's like, we know when the bit is doing something ridiculous. And there were some fun times. I remember for Dave Russell getting duct taped to the back of the stage during a scene.
Yes. Yeah.
He got duct taped to the back of the stage, and by the end, we took away the stool underneath him, and he was literally suspended on the wall, duct taped to the wall. And everyone just left, and the lights went off, and he was just left there hanging. And a fringe festival improv competition. It was London against Orlando, and they were winning. And London was doing a big musical. And Dave Russell came out and played Jesus in the back of the theater. And Matt Young came out and squeegeed him as Jesus, was squeegeeing him, and then put the squeegee into a water bottle and drank it. And then sprayed it on the audience and said, you've got the sweat of the Lord. And they just did like this whole gospel sweat of the Lord thing. And it was the funniest thing in the world. But it was such misbehavior. Like, he was completely upstaging the whole scene. But it was so beautiful because it was total misbehavior. Like, it wasn't about us. The other team was winning. And Dave was just playing second support on the back as Jesus. But became the funniest thing by being squeegeed by Matt Young into a bottle of water that Matt Young drank and then sprayed onto the crowd. So that kind of misbehavior, when you can trust your teammates enough, is so beautiful. I love that.
Yeah. You know, I misspoke when I asked that question, but I'm glad I did because I love that answer and that was fascinating. I meant to say Comedy Warehouse and SAC.
Oh, I will tell you the difference between Comedy Warehouse and SAC 100%.
Yes, please.
Comedy Warehouse was equity, so it's very professional union actors. And these are actors who are veterans of the world. And as you know, they're incredible people, all stars. So to come into that was intimidating AF. You clock in, you sit down at a literal boardroom table and plan your games around the table in a boardroom and talk about the night. Then you go put on professional costumes that at the time were like 1990s comedy vests. Like, we all look like we were like Paula Poundstone comedy vests, like the big shoulder pads and like comedy shiny silk shirts. like that 90s comedies look. Then we put on our microphones, which I'm shocked that SAK has microphones now. It's still amazing to me. We go backstage, we do shows. At any point during the show, you could also put notes to each other into a box backstage. So if during the show you felt wronged, or if there was something wrong in the show, you could put a note into a box, which is crazy, which to me is already like, whoa. And then there was also, when I started SAK, we had a few props, but then we kind of let go of props and wigs. But there's props and wigs backstage, which to me is like a whole nother thing, because I'm not a props and wigs person anymore. But at the time when SAK was established, we did have props and wigs. Luckily went away. I feel like needing to put on a crazy wig or a crazy prop is not necessary if you're a good improviser, personally. So there was that. And then at the end of the night, we would give each other notes. We'd go around the table and talk about what we liked and didn't like about the night, which again is so hard to do notes like that, like around the table. It was just very slick. And the big difference for me was the structure. Like, it was structured, and we did these very specific song genres. And we knew opening song, closing song. And for me, that was such a great boot camp that to this day I use all the time in so many gigs. And I hate that I can't teach that to more people, because it really is, it's like learning a magic trick. Like when you watch a magic show, you're like, what? How'd you do that? You're like, well, I can teach you. I'm not doing anything special. I can just teach it to you. But people think that improv music is like this weird magic they can never, how did you do that? It's like, it's a special skill I don't have. It's like, no, I can teach it to you. Do you know how to sing happy birthday? Great, then you know how to do this. Like, do you know how to rhyme one word? You got this. Like, if you can rhyme one word, you've got this. But like, you learn that magic sauce of how to do an improvised song. And because we did like 10 of those a night, you get so good at improv music. And that has been such a superhero use of mine for my whole life. And I think SAK would do a little more long form musicals, but we didn't do a lot of short form music besides Do Run Run and Beastie Rap. I don't think we did a lot of like short form musical stuff at that time. They might do more now, I'm not sure. But like Comedy Warehouse had like their set genre musicals games, and learning that formula of like, I set up my rhyme, I do the next rhyme, pass it to you. That formula has literally changed everything for me, because I do it everywhere now. That's what Whose Line is. Like, any major improv show that's making a ton of money is doing that kind of work. And I'm trying to bring that more to every job I go to, because it's such a magic trick and the audience is always dazzled by it. But you're like, I'm literally just repeating the information you said in a rhyme.
Yeah.
Again, it's not crazy. I'm literally just saying the same thing you just told me, but musically. So I think that slickness, and I just think the slickness of it, just the production value was so slick. It felt like Whose Line versus SAK is a little more, we're just goofing off and we're having a great time and we're a little more just loosey-goosey, and the audience feels like we're friends and we're just kind of hanging out. Whereas Comedy Warehouse is like, we're slick, we're professionals, we're doing this for real, and we're celebrities, basically. They literally had Martin Short doing their shows, so it's like, you never know who you're... They had Robin Williams up there at one point, so yeah.
Yeah, the stage and the house was definitely very, I mean, it was a Disney thing, so it was very, anyone that's been to Disney, I think, will understand that it was very well themed and produced. I did see one show at Comedy Warehouse, and then, of course, it's like, oh, yay, someday, and then it's no longer, which is a travesty, Disney. It's a travesty.
I know. I can't believe it's literally gone.
Did you ever do Adventures Club?
I did not do Adventures Club, I think because, honestly, I could have. I think at one point I even played the maid character as a one-off in a special event, but I did not join them because I was so busy doing SAK at the same time. So I think to do both at that time, you had to have more availability than I had, and I was so interested in doing SAK. So I was like kind of full-time doing what was called MGM back then, the studios. I was doing Streetmosphere, I was doing Epcot, I was doing special events, and I was doing Warehouse and SAK. Plus, I was an actor in Orlando doing auditions and commercials. So I was just so busy that I think I just didn't give myself that time to open up. But I do work with a lot of people who do that. And luckily out here in LA, I've worked with so many people who were such fans of that show and that style. And that style of show is so big right now. I'm sure you're aware of this, that like the interactive theater, the Sleep No More from New York / Knott's Berry Farm's Ghost Town Alive. I'm following an actor throughout the night and being just a part of the party without it being a show. I'm more kind of immersive theater is so big. It's kind of what the Star Wars thing was that, may it rest in peace, was happening. That experience of like, I'm a part of the story, I'm immersed in the world is really big right now, which is like all of our LARPers grew up and got adult money.
Yeah.
So now we're performing for them. And so we're actually doing a thing called Fan Fest Nights at Universal Studios Hollywood right now, where you can be a part of Hill Valley, where you just get to follow Marty McFly around all night as he does as like a 45-minute loop, or any of the characters from that story. Or you can go to D&D and follow them. Go to Star Trek, follow them. If they have a Harry Potter, you can follow a character. So I think that immersive theater thing is really big. And that exact experience, I feel like the kids who grew up loving Adventures Club became Imagineers and are now working for our world.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did a lot of stuff with Imagineers and with those people, like opening up some lands and doing some fun. Like I opened up the Disney Cruise Lines with Kelly and some folks from there doing those characters. Pretty cool.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about Disney Cruise Line. I talked with Megan.
Nice.
She had some memories of doing improv on Disney Cruise Line.
Yeah.
Is that what you were doing as well?
Yes. So not only was Megan my next door neighbor out here for about 15 years and one of my closest friends, if you're referring to Megan White Sewell.
Yes.
Yes, Megan and I opened up the cruise line. So she opened up one ship and I was able to open up the next ship, the Disney Wonder. And it really is such an incredible experience because you really are doing basically Who's Line, basically the Comedy Warehouse, but they did more sketches. So it'd be like sketch, improv, because the contract went to a company that's out of Minnesota, the Brave New Workshop. They are more focused on sketch. They're a little bit more Second City style.
Sure.
So Second City like lands between sketch and improv, obviously, as we know, because they feed into SNL. So Megan and I were lucky to open the cruise ship. It was such an honor. It was so weird because we didn't have to go from Orlando, quit Disney, because you have to quit Disney if you're going to go do this contract. It's a separate company, technically. Go to Minnesota and practice a show, then move to Italy, where they're building the ship, and then practice in Italy for Italian dudes who don't know what you're talking about, and then do these like really random sketches. I loved it so much because I got to travel the world, see the world. I was luckily with my 5-year boyfriend, who's an incredibly talented improviser. His name is Ron Hippie. He was from Broadway. He's an incredible musical improviser and talented guy from Seattle Theater Sports. Incredible guy. And he's married to someone else, but he's still an incredible guy. I'm forever a fan. But we were able to do this contract together, and the greatest part about it is you're making great money. You're not spending any of your own money. You're doing this awesome improv show that's very Who's Line, very slick, very mic'd, great piano players, funny scripted stuff, funny improv stuff, great audience showing up all the time. The hard part was they made us stay on the ship and like teach improv classes for the kids who didn't want to be in the sun. Or like the Italian ship people. And the hardest part was, it's like, welcome to work. You can't leave for 7 months. So like picture going into a theme park. You're like, I love a theme park. It's like, but you're going to stay here for 7 months.
Yeah.
Which a theme park is great. But if you can't leave the theme park for 7 months, you become institutionalized. You become get busy living, get busy dying. You become just like Andy Dufresne. You're like trying to find your way out. So like, it's funny. I loved it. But when you leave, you really do feel like, I don't remember how the real world works. Like I've been in a cell because it just becomes such a weird, small, tiny world. It'd be like living in a van. You just become very like, oh my God. Yeah. But it was really a great show. The cast was incredible. A woman named Renee Albert was on our cast, and she's like this Norwegian goddess who plays accordion. A guy named Tom Gibbous, who does a lot of incredible voiceovers for anime, and he worked for Dick Clark. Me, Jen Bascom, incredible people all did this cruise ship. Like it was, and Cedric Yarborough from Reno 911 was on it. Like the incredible cast members were on this ship. It was not a joke show. It was like a real show, but also you're like, I can't leave work. It's such a weird head game. It's like if you went to SAK Theater and just slept there. Like, it's great. I love it. I love SAK. But I can't see my family? Wait, what? For 7 months? Wait, what? Okay. I mean, I love SAK. I love these shows. But I can't, like, eat a burger? Wait, what? Wait.
So did you just do the 1 7-month contract then?
I did, yeah. I just did the 1 7 month, and I used that money to move to LA. That was my whole goal. Was like, I'm gonna do this contract and move to LA.
Okay.
That was my whole thing. So yeah.
How long did that continue on the ships? Because I mean, they do their Broadway style shows now, but they I don't think have improv or anything of that nature.
I think they did it for a few months. I know they had some successful contracts on other ships with Second City that went on for a little while that made some big stars like Nicole Parker and Derek Miller, who went on to the Princess Cruises. They kind of moved that contract over. But I think they only did about 2 more years and it kind of fizzled out and just became the shows. Because I think the hard part is like you want the reliability of a scripted show, and it's easier to hire musical theater people than it is improvisers. Again, we're a really special crew, and to get that exact quality over and over and over again is tough. And I think that with scripted content, you just get a little bit more reliability, and you can hire pretty successfully. I just think that creative money people get scared when they're like, what are they going to say, though?
Yeah.
What are they going to be saying every night? I don't know. Oh, yeah. So I think that's why it fizzled.
It's also fascinating to me that they went through Brave New Workshop instead of pulling from Comedy Warehouse or something locally, because they had the talent there.
We all thought the same thing. But Brave New Workshop did incredible. So I have nothing negative to say.
Yeah, yeah.
But we also were like, this is weird. It should have been just Comedy Warehouse or SAK. But whatever, man. I don't know what their jam was. But luckily, the people that were behind Brave New Workshop were some of the original people that did Comedy Warehouse. So it kind of worked out. And everyone was great. Like, it worked out perfectly. But I agree that wish it would have stayed in-house. And I feel like there could have just been a symbiotic relationship there. Of like, it's just the
Yeah.
Comedy Warehouse on the ship. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure there was all kinds of considerations that are just completely outside of my realm of experience that people were thinking of that luckily I never have to. Lauren, what would you say is the most shocking thing you've ever seen or done on stage?
Oh my. There's so many, because I've done the Bill and Ted Stunt Show at Universal Studios Hollywood, which was very shocking. A lot of weird things I did there. It sounds like I'm name dropping, but the most shocking thing I've seen on stage with me is Robin Williams. Because I got to spend a week with Robin Williams on stage, and that was incredible. I got to do the show Crazy Ones. Again, long story short, I was taking a friend through hospice. My friend was dying. I booked a TV show called Crazy Ones with Robin Williams. It was his final show he did. And I didn't want to go do it because my friend was dying. And I was like, I don't want to leave you. You're dying. And I don't want to leave you. And she was like, go tell Robin I said hi. And I was like, you better not die. I'm going to see you tonight. She's like, okay. I left, got there. I was in the makeup chair next to Robin Williams, and my friend freaking died.
Oh.
As she would. So I started crying, and Robin Williams came over and was like, what's going on? And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so embarrassed. But my friend just died. She's had cancer, and I was her hospice person, and I just lost her. He hugged me and was like, I got you this whole week. So I got to spend the week grieving with Robin Williams. It was his wife's birthday that same day. He was incredible. And like that to me is like those moments where you're like, I cannot believe I'm with this person on stage. And I feel like in my career, I've had the opportunity to be with incredible people. Like those kind of folks, you're just like, I can't believe I'm literally seeing this person on stage with me, this president, this incredible, like, I got to open Harry Potter in Los Angeles here, and I got to be like, oh, here's all the stars of Harry Potter, plus Williams. He made the director. Hey, here's Steven Spielberg. Hey, like those moments to me are the most shocking. Where like, I cannot believe that my dumb little improv career has taken me to be around these kind of people who think I'm cool. But again, there's been shocking, ridiculous moments like Matt Young at SAK Theater putting an entire Reese's peanut butter cup in his ear to look like earwax as a joke, and then panicking and having to go to the hospital because he really put a Reese's peanut butter cup in his ear. Or like Ryan Smith getting a real concussion because he pretended to fall and really fell and hit his head. There's like those kind of jokes and moments. It takes a lot for someone to really shock me on stage. I remember we did an improvised parody Gossip Girl style show out here in Los Angeles at Comedy Sports, and I played a really nerdy, like librarian type woman, fat cat lady wearing Crocs and like tights. And one of the hot students was like, I heard you got my tardy slip. I'm gonna find it. And like went down my body all sexually, and I was like, oh my God! Like those kind of moments always shock me when I'm always like, do I what? There was a blackout, so it stayed very PG-13. But like those moments where an improviser shocks you on stage are always so cool. I've been in earthquakes on stage a bunch of times now that I live in LA, where there's a literal earthquake. We have to go like, everyone pause. Well, that was cool. And like going up. We had an active shooter in LA once and had to just keep going with our show. So like there's been some of those moments, but I think my most positive one is Robin Williams, but I guess nothing really shocks me. This is really morbid, but I'm going to say it. So those who are conditioned to not do improv anymore will understand this. So my husband made a joke one time for our anniversary. We went out of town for 3 days. So I wasn't on stage for 3 days. I got really depressed. And my husband was like, you haven't made anyone laugh for 3 days. And I was like, oh, dude, I'm not that much of a junkie. He's like, I bet you are. Let's go to karaoke tonight in the nearby town. And we did. And I was like, oh, you're right. I need to make people laugh. Because I did a funny song. I made everyone laugh. And I was like, oh my God, you're right. I'm hooked on the junk. I need to make people laugh. As I said before, my Lucille Ball Carbonette goal in life, my goal is to make people laugh, especially when I feel bad. So when I'm having a really bad day, I want to make people laugh. So during the whole pandemic, my husband and I made 160 something videos every day of someone's birthday. We'd just find someone on Facebook and make a birthday video for them and make them laugh and do a little bit. Just that, like, making people laugh. So cut to, I'm doing a podcast with my improv wife, Kelly. We have a celebrity guest who's from a CBS TV show. It's Kirsten Dangsness. We're doing a little podcast with her. She's awesome. And my phone's kind of blowing up, so I turn it off. And then as soon as we're done with the podcast, it's kind of a big deal podcast. It's like a big deal show that invited us to do the show. I turn on my phone and my phone is blowing up. Bad blow up. You know when your phone is like, you have 99 missed calls, you're like, oh no. My brother died. My brother, who is my third next of kin. He's only, 3 years older than me. He's now my age. He died of diabetes suddenly. It was very sudden. Only problem was I was doing a podcast, then I had to go to Second City and teach a group of teenagers, and then I had a show that night for Lorelli. And there was no time to fill it. There was no time to replace. It was one of those packed days you do where thing to thing to thing. And so I just called my work, told them what happened. I called my husband, told him what happened. My sister showed me his dead body on FaceTime, which was weird. And then I went, okay, I'm just going to go do a show. So I went and taught teenagers a sci-fi comedy genre workshop, because I teach sci-fi comedy genre. Then I went and did a Lorelli show. That was great. And I don't know if that makes me a sociopath, but I think I was so in shock. I was like, the best thing I can do right now is make people laugh. Then I'm going to go home in a bath later and cry like crazy because I'm in shock. But the idea that I was in so much shock and that was the most crazy information I could receive, but I have to go do a show right now and there's no time to replace myself. We had a sold out show and it's a 2-woman comedy show. We were sold out. So I did it. And we had a great show. It was fun. I mean, I don't remember a thing of it, but I did a show. And that has happened a lot in my life where I've been on stage or something terrible's happened. I have to go okay, all right, I'm going to do a show. And I think that's what separates professionals from hobbyists. If you're a hobbyist, you have to go home and cripple yourself and just stay home and just Wah! But if you're a professional, if you are Harrison Ford and you're playing indie and something terrible happens, you still have to finish the day, probably.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I went and did a full day that night and then came home and then collapsed and cried. And I was like, gosh, I'm so glad I had that show. And the day that my father, same year, my father passed, that later I was at Universal Studios. There's this weird continuum of bad stuff happens, you have to continue doing your comedy is such a weird thing. And I think a lot of comedians who are professional comedians can relate to that, where you're like, I went through a breakup, I went through a terrible time, I went through a miscarriage, I went through this awful thing in my life, but I still have to show up and do a show. My husband and I went through IVF while I was doing comedy at Universal. There's all these dark times that happen, but you're like, but if I can bring light to others, it sometimes helps heal us. And I think that to me is the most shocking. It's a dark, long answer, but it's very true. There has been some dark times. Me and my friends have been on stage or they'll turn to you and go this awful thing happened to me. I go, okay, we're going to do the show. Then afterwards, let's talk about it. Okay, here we go. And you just have to do it because you have to, because you're there and there's no time to not do it. I don't know.
What about it do you think is most healing, or what about it do you get the most out of it? I know you have been saying that it's making someone else laugh, but what about that do you think feeds your soul?
There's a few things. I think, again, we bring joy to the world by making each other look good and making the world laugh together. I think the other thing is, I think the detriment to actors and improvisers is when you have a mirror facing yourself. You're if you're holding a mirror in front of your face, you're looking at yourself in the show, you're not doing a good show. If you turn that mirror around and face it towards your team member and that light is shining on them, you're doing a great show. So I think turning the light away from yourself and towards someone else lifts that burden off of you and just creates joy for others. And I think gets you out of your own head. I think that's what doctors do. I think anyone who's in the world of good, who does good for others, is always kind of shining that light outward instead of inward. And I think when you shine the light outward, it's going to ricochet and come back at you, of course, because people are going to like you and be your friend, and people are going to love you and support you. But I think that through all the tragics, I lost my mom, dad, and brother, and other things in the same last few years. And I'd show up to my family gatherings and be the game player. I'm let's play a game. And we'd do some dumb party game. And I think that saved our butts because we were so sad. We're all so sad. But life's not going to stop. And we, of course, should grieve and be sad. But I think that in the darkness is light, and at the end of the tunnel is light, and we have to remember that's there. And also, I'm sure a lot of improvisers can relate that in the darkness, I start to giggle. When it's so bad, you start to giggle. When you're in a funeral and you're I remember turning to my best friend. So my brother and father and mother all died in pretty close succession. So their grave sites are on top of each other, not on top, one after the other. So the way they set it up, when we went to the next funeral, we're kind of sitting on the last person. So I remember turning to my best friend and going, "You're sitting on my brother's face." And she's like, "Stop it." I was like, "You are. You're sitting on his face. Look at you're right there." She's like, "Stop it." But being able to do those jokes to me was everything, because we were able to laugh and have a good time and turn to each other, just make each other giggle. We had to, because if not, we can't drive home. You have to be able to find that light in the darkness. And when my mom, this is so fun. So this is not fun. It's dark / fun. It's twisty / fun. When my mom was in hospice, she was dying of Alzheimer's, dementia, and she got very lucid the last couple of days. You start to become very lucid and very aware and very sharp suddenly, which is weird. weird and disorienting to your loved ones, but you become very sharp and aware. So people are like, oh, are they not dying? What's going on? So my mom got very sharp suddenly, and she kind of opens her eyes and sees me, Anitra Pritchard, and her other funny kids all staring at her in a room. She goes, what are y'all doing here? Are you going to do a talent show? And we went, yup. So, of course, it's me and Anitra and my siblings. We do a talent show. So we find an object around the room and perform a dumb talent with those objects. I played the xylophone on, like, the radiator thing. Anitra found this dumb little dog, and it was a balloon animal, and she, like, pretended to, like, make it herself. My brother, like, did a magic trick. We all played a talent just because my mom was a funny person and loved to laugh. So we're like, yeah, we just kept making jokes, making her laugh the entire time because that's what we were used to. And so, like, that helped us shine the light. I don't know. I just feel like that, yeah, making each other laugh because life is so short and life is so hard, especially right now.
Yeah.
We're all so divided that the one universal language we have is to make someone laugh, especially right now where life is really tough. And I learned that coming back to Universal Studios. I perform full-time at the New York Improv show at Universal Studios Hollywood. We're up in a window performing. It's kind of like a Neil Simon-esque improvised New York street show. They had something similar, I think, in Universal Orlando. But we came back, we noticed that guests were different after the pandemic. People felt different. They needed something special. We couldn't be snarky. We couldn't heckle. We had to be really gentle and super positive and just be like cheerleaders and so kind. And that SAK theater energy you know so well of just like, we love you. We're so glad you're here. Oh my goodness. And all of our comedy had to like spike the ball up instead of spiking the ball down.
Yeah.
And that's where my comedy lies. I always like to spike the ball up. I don't like to make anyone feel bad at all, ever. But we noticed coming up with the pandemic, that was like a big deal. And I feel like now in general, most of our guests need that a lot.
Yeah.
Because the world's tough, yo.
Yeah, both the distraction and the positivity.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
That's it for part 1 of my interview with Lauren Pritchard. Come back for part 2, where we'll discuss more of Lauren's improv journey and she'll answer my Proust questionnaire. Find the show on Patreon for bonus material at every level. The paid levels are just gratuity, including some phone prov I do with Charles Fryerman and a recent posted slice of life for anyone wondering what that actually is. As always, thanks for listening to Improv Autopsy.